Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, we're going to hunt for the most expensive guitars on Reverb. Now, to be honest, I don't know if there's like a search all function, so I think we'll just go through the major brands here. But we can also discuss today what makes a guitar expensive. Sometimes it has to do with rarity. Other times it has to do with historical significance. Sometimes it also has to do with what parts it's made out of. Any guitar past $1,500 to $2,000 usually has some sort of a story. I think it's any surprise here that the Les Paul Bursts are the very first ones here. So let's see, do I want to buy a Burst today? We get a 1960, we got a 59, another 60, a Bigsby. Let's take a look at this. Offered by Yaman's Vintage Used Guitars in Bern, Switzerland for $340,000. It's kind of a plain top, but I've heard most of the Bursts are. Like when we think the super highly flamed ones, those ones are a little bit more rare and desirable. However, finding one of these that's still all original in pretty good shape, I think that's why these guys are asking so much. Ooh, this one has a stinger. Now, is that just a freak factory type thing? I mean, this one's definitely been played, so it's possible somebody broke the headstock and put that on there. But I suppose that feature would make this one desirable if factory original. You know, I guess this top isn't too bad. I bet this is one that looks a lot better in person. Okay, so it looks like somebody had Schaller tuners on here at one point in time, and then they reinstalled the originals. And when you're talking this kind of money for this guitar, you can actually afford CT scans to prove that there's no headstock repair. Here's a 59 at $281. It looks like we got some sort of an issue on this one as well. Was that a Bigsby? Yeah, looks like somebody's had a Bigsby on that one. And this one's in the United Kingdom. Can't say I like that one too much. Man, it's no wonder these things are sitting. I know I'm being kind of picky. I mean, I'm sure these are great playing guitars, but if you want the finest burst in the world, there's a couple of dogs on Reverb right now. At least this one has the Cali case. And this one's for sale by Emerald City Guitars. It looks like they do have a video, but that one's been for sale for 3 years. Now, so far, I like the look of this one the best. But at $270, I really don't like the Bigsbys on the bursts. I appreciate the top carve, the color that they've got going on, the really nice natural wood figuring. It's one thing not to have flame. I actually do like the plain tops when they have lots of wood grain like this one has. Our headstock's looking a bit goofy though. And it looks like we got replacement tuners on this one potentially. Ooh, that neck. Very worn in. Somebody definitely enjoyed playing this thing. So I can only imagine it sounds pretty darn good. Oh, nice. It's always good to have provenance. But obviously, if you're going to buy one of these things, you probably want Eric Ernest or somebody who's dealt with a whole bunch of bursts to verify it for you first. And then there's this one by Rumble Seat Music. So this one's got a nice top, but it has, once again, the Bigsby snakebite. It seems like collectors really don't want the bursts that have been bitten. But this has a fantastic top. I think if you threw some covers on here, it would speak to me a little bit better. But it was about 4 months ago, Rumble Seat had an absolutely stellar burst. Like, if you're gonna get one, this is what I would want. I don't necessarily love the dark burst. I wish it wouldn't kind of come in here because that looks a little bit goofy. But this top, this is like the quintessential burst here. It doesn't surprise me that this one came up and sold really quickly, even at their $400,000 asking price. I mean, look at that neck. That is fantastic. There's a very lucky collector out there that picked this one up, I think. Now we've got this one, the Giotto Burst, something like that, for $200,000. It looks like, I think that was like a Bigsby Palm Mute system, something like that. I think Steve Howe used that on one of his guitars, and then they inlaid something in it. It's a shame they did that because everything else about this one's looking nice. Oh, maybe not. Well, what's going on here? Some sort of a freaky headstock repair. I really like the color on this one though, but I can see why people wouldn't want it. I mean, you want a burst that has a story, but maybe not this much of a story. Other than that, we have this guy at $250,000 for the guitar that Les Paul had on the book cover. Now, I believe he's fairly well known within the guitar community, but I just don't see it. It's modern day Les Paul custom. I mean, sure, it's on the cover, it's related to Les Paul. I could see it being worth anywhere between 2 to 4 times what this one would have originally sold for. But $250,000, it's not the type of guitar I would buy. And what is going on with the setup of that? Did they build it wrong? Yeah, I think this guy's actually been on a bunch of guitar forums. He shares some great information. I mean, he was, right there with Les, doing a whole bunch of stuff for him. I mean, you can check out this listing and read this whole story if you want to. We got other guitars to check out today. I think a lot of this listing's kind of just for show, to be honest. And what's going on with this Dot 335? Looks like a modern day. He's open to any reasonable offer, and he's telling us that we're not worthy of this guitar. Okay, it's a Gibson ES 335 from 2019. I don't see anything special. This listing is actually against Reverb's rules. I'm surprised it's even lasted 3 months. Sometimes Reverb gets some hate that the sellers ask for way too much, but there is a point in their rules where somebody's asking like way too much. Like there's nothing special about this guitar at all. You can pick a brand new one up off the shelf, I think for like $3,200 or something. So this is just a listing that gives Reverb a bad name. Next up we have a Carina Flying V from 1966. Local pickup only. If I was in the market for one of these, I think I'd rather get one of the original 58, 59s because 66, it just doesn't seem as special. But now we're getting into some more interesting things. So this one gets talked about quite often in like guitar forum groups. You get a 2004 Jimmy Page aged and signed matching set of the 2 different runs. And personally, I don't see it. I mean, it's kind of cool that they have matching serial numbers, and I think that's the shtick that they're trying to use to get top value. I mean, Olivia's vintage, they're very well respected. They're normally slightly on the higher end of the market, but not like overly priced. But here is kind of a cool guitar. This one's actually been used in a few YouTube videos. Some YouTubers, I think Rhett Scholl is one of them. And I think just recently Tyler Larson of Music Is Win, maybe check this thing out, something like that. But that's at Rudy's Music in New York, New York. So they're saying that this is the first sunburst Les Paul, like the first one that they put a burst finish on. I mean, it's still, R6 spec'd. And this thing's definitely been played. It's got some wear and tear, but it's had articles written about it saying that it is the first. So if it is indeed the first sunburst Les Paul, I think, that definitely gives it a super premium here. I mean, if the condition was better, I bet more collectors would be interested in this, but it is a pretty worn guitar, especially on the neck. And the headstock, not particularly attractive to me, but they want $131,250. Now, out of all the really expensive guitars we looked at so far today, he's got it listed for between like 2 to 3.5 times what a normal 56 would sell for. But I could justify that price. I don't think he's too crazy on that one. This will eventually sell. Maybe not for exactly this price, but 10, 20, 30% off of that I could see. Moving on here, we do have a couple of cool collections, but honestly, I want to talk about these in separate videos, I think. Ooh, there's a real snake pit. Okay, so back in my snake pit days, the real ones were going for about $40,000, and there were like 6 of them on the market. Ever since then, they've just disappeared. So I think that's why this guy's asking $100,000. I'm not quite sure if he's going to get that, but it is, the first official /signature model that regular people could buy. And this one's part of the second run. It looks like it says 52, but it appears to be in clean shape. I mean, there's definitely a collector's market for the original snake pits. But I'd imagine like $60K would be top value. Now here's something kind of interesting. A gold top converted to a burst by the factory. I mean, I get that the factory did it, but it's still a refinish. But I guess it's one of the cheaper ways that you can get a burst finish that's kind of semi-what original that was used in the original Kalamazoo factory. And Abalone Vintage, this is the guy that I'm talking about, Eric Ernest. He's the guy that's had all these guitars. So generally, if you want one of these things vetted, you pay for him to fly out to you. And I don't even know if he does the travel and stuff anymore with the whole climate. So troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the most expensive guitars on Reverb for me. I'm actually going to split this episode up into a couple of parts because it got really long. And because I need to do my annual New Year's Eve video, which takes a long time for me to set out guitars. So you guys can look forward to that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.